Welcome to another edition of Talking Lobos. I'm Lee Faria. Along with me is Brandon Ortega. We're getting close to football season for the real deal. And Brandon has been out there quite a bit with the Lobos this past week. We're going to define roles this week, aren't we?
We really are, and this is an adjustment period right now because the Lobos just started school on Monday, and Coach Davey talked about it today. He felt like the focus, the efficiency of practice wasn't really quite there, and I think that's affected competitions, particularly quarterback. You got kicker still up for grabs, a lot of positions up for grabs. Right now they're adjusting to school, and competitions are going to heat up even more once they all get settled, and we should see some starting positions really get solidified.
We know that the quarterback battle is down to Colton Gerhardt and Tavaka Tuioti, and your Bob Davey. Who's your starting quarterback?
Well, I asked him today. He did say he feels like they're getting closer, and to me, I feel like that is leaning towards Tavaka Tuioti because of everything that's happened last year through the offseason. He's looked pretty good in training camp. Now, here's one thing that's interesting about Tavaka and Colton. Davey said that he likes the mobility of both. So I feel like that's kind of, you can just like put that even on both of them.
Okay.
I would maybe give the edge to Tavaka passing-wise. Even though Colton's thrown very well, I think Tavaka's thrown a little bit better down the field. I think he did a little bit. I didn't get to see the scrimmage on Saturday. There was a closed session for the scrimmage, but Davey came out of the scrimmage on Saturday very happy with each quarterback. So I just get the sense that it's going to be Tavaka. He has the slight edge right now, but it is not a done deal. But he looks like he's leaning towards someone right now, and if I had to guess, it was Tavaka.
How important is Tyrone Owens? You've used the term locked in. How important is he if you go with Tavaka Tuioti, who can throw the football? We know he can do it. We've seen him do it in game situations. How important is Owens to a quarterback like that?
Owens is going to be probably the most important part of the offense when you think about it. Calvin McGee has always run the ball very well. West Virginia, most recently in Arizona. You know he's going to be going into this season trying to get the running game going right away, and Tyrone Owens is going to have to be a big part of at least igniting the running game at first, and he's someone that absolutely is focused this fall camp because last year he let some things get away from him. He admitted he was maybe a little distracted last year coming off a great sophomore season, and as a junior he didn't even get past 800 yards. So yeah, I think he is probably number one on the list as far as getting the running game going and allowing whoever's going to be quarterback to have more time to throw the ball, because if you get Owens going, you have to respect the running game.
Now, the college football poll came out this week. The Lobos play Wisconsin, and the Badgers are ranked number 4 in the country. Considering what we anticipate that game looking like, does the financial aspects offset the fact that you could get crushed in that game?
Whatever way, I think there's nothing you can take bad out of an experience like that because you're going to get the financial growth. That's good for the university.
Right.
But any experience you get going to a Big Ten school, I don't care if it's Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan, or even a team on the bottom half of that, maybe like a Maryland or someone like that. It's going to be a good experience to get out of your comfort zone. They should win week 1. That should happen, and then week 2, you're going to get brought down back to earth a little bit, and then you go into week 3 down the middle, coming off a nice win and then probably a humbling loss. I think
to face the Aggies.
To face the Aggies, to face Liberty. You need to go into week 3 even keeled, and I think facing a Big Ten school will do that.
Let me ask you this: if that game goes the way we anticipated going, the Wisconsin game, how fast can you pick yourself back up, because it's rivalry week after that?
You have to.
You're playing your arch rival basically. There's
on the road again, too.
Yeah, on the road, back down in Las Cruces. So how fast can this team rebound off of something like that to get up for the Aggies?
Yeah, and that's going to depend on injuries. You can't get too banged up going to Wisconsin. That's going to depend on who the starting quarterback is and how good of a start they get off to. That's going to depend on how much the offense is acclimated to each other with this new scheme that Calvin McGee is bringing in. There's a lot of what ifs. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but I would say the biggest thing would have to be how on the same page is everybody. You got to have everyone working together going into the big Week 3 game.
But it's our job to go ahead and look ahead because we're not coaching the team. One other thing we want to point out is that Keith McGee is now officially a Lobo for the men's Lobo basketball team. He is a point guard. He can push it, he can shoot it, and he is going to help the Lobos with their depth situation. And the reason I say that is because if McGee plays the point, you can now take Jaquan Lyle, who, remember, transferred from Ohio State, can now play the 2 guard. Anthony Mathis can also join them at the 3. Vance Jackson goes to the 4. Carlton Bragg goes to the post. So it gives them depth, and it gives them a player, as you mentioned, can really run a basketball team.
Yeah, he can run the floor. He's a good facilitator, and most importantly, he can score. And every position on the floor has to be able to score, whether it's from the three-point line, whether it's taking it to the basket. And Paul Weir has been very high on McGee from the second that he got a commitment from him. He's definitely going to put a lot on the plate of McGee. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets acclimated, because he hasn't been in Albuquerque this whole time.
No. The
Lobos have been practicing, so you got to jump him right in, get him up to speed, and that's not easy because the Lobos play such a fast-paced style of basketball, but I think McGee could be up to the task for that.
Yes, they do, and it'll be Brandon's first taste of Paul Weir's system. I can't wait for that. That's another edition of Talking Lobos. We'll see you next week.